Here we are at Pioneer. We're going to talk about our maple syrup production. We got our buckets, lids go in the spile. Zach over here, he's got his drill. Hand is a spile used to put in the tree. And then down here we have a hammer that we use to tap in the spile. When you're looking for a tree, you want to try and get normally a bigger tree. You don't want to take out the small ones. We're looking for anything that's 12 inches or bigger because that's the best. And when you're tapping, you always want to find a side that has a lot of good branch and canopy cover, because that's where most of the sap's going to be running up to the tree. Zach's going to demonstrate it. He's going to be going at a slight upward angle. He's going to be going about 1.5 inches deep. Get a good depth. He's going to blow out the hole. That right there is his spile. He's going to tap it in. Okay, now that's in. You hang up your bucket. Then this is our lid. You got to undo it. Comes undone. You got a little bit of a gap right here. And then on the spile, there's a hole you got to put it in. The cover keeps it from debris getting in the sap, so it's nice and pure stuff. And we use plastic buckets because we want the cleanest product possible for our customers. Weather conditions. You want nice cold nights, and then best time to run sap's when you get those days that are like 40 degrees. It's the best time to run sap. But when it's cold like it is now, we ain't really running nothing. We're just trying to get everything set up for when it is good weather for it.
Now that we have the sap in the tank, the sap will flow through these pipes, all these piping, through each individual pipe, into this box over here on the evaporator. And once it's in here, it'll flow through this side of the evaporator into each section. And as it flows through, all the water that's in the sap will boil off and turn all the sap into syrup.
Okay, this is our evaporator. It's ran off of diesel fuel. There's a big flame underneath there that causes the sap to boil. This front part of the evaporator is the syrup pan. The back part is the flue pan. Now there's more surface back area over here, causes more evaporation. The flame's at like 500 to 600 degrees.
Before we could draw off, the temperature on the gauge has to be about 219, which is 7 degrees above Fahrenheit, above boiling point of water. And then you have to make sure the sap is thick enough so that it just sags off from the edge of the pan, which is pretty good. And then come over here, you open this valve. You let it, it's hot. Let it go until it drops a few degrees. Then after you dry all the syrup off, you take it up here and you dump it through the filtration system, which is just a few layers of filters to get all the stuff out of the syrup so it's good enough for you to eat. And this has to be kept at a certain temperature so the syrup is a good liquid state so that it can run through the filter, and then it comes out here into the bottling tank, which is kept at a certain temperature so the syrup is still a good liquid state so it can run through out the bottler fine. And then we open this valve and it runs out into the tanks or the jugs that you have at home that you use when you put on your syrup, maple, or pancakes, waffles, whatever you want at home.
Alright, over here we have the bottling station where once the syrup is boiled off and we have syrup, we bring it over here and bottle it. Before we bottle it, we have to determine the grade of the syrup. On one end of the grading chart we have light syrup, which you make towards the beginning of the season, and then at the other end you have the darker syrup, which is at the end of the season. You get lighter syrup in the beginning of the season because there's more sugar content in the trees, whereas the end of the season there's less sugar content, so you have to boil the syrup longer. Once you've determined the grade of the syrup, we then put it in the bottles and then mark each cap of the bottle with the grade of syrup that's in the bottle. Then after that's done, we put 4 of these bottles on the scale and weigh it, and in turn to hope to get 11 pounds for a gallon of syrup. And if it's a little over 11 pounds, that means it's a little darker syrup.